Hello and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. Today we have Netflix 376th film from 2021. It's the Belgo-Dutch crime drama called Ferry. This is directed by Cecilia Verheyden and stars Frank Lammers, Elise, Schaap and Huub Stapel. I am Jesse, I am your host. Thank you for joining me today for this Netflix original film, another international release. We're getting quite a few of these during the COVID years, I guess is the best way of putting it. Other than that, if you are interested in checking this film out or haven't heard about this film and want to, give us a pause and come back a little bit later on, because we will spoil the film as we progress through this show. We do start the show with the Fast Flicks, where we do a quick little summary of what the film is all about. So this one is about a henchman almost, or a mafia hitman, who's sent to the countryside to clean up some business for his boss, but he falls in love and complicates things. Ooh, intriguing. I knew nothing about this film, so very interested to sort of see and hear if there's others that are into this, because we're going to talk about how this ended up on Netflix and what it is, because this film is actually a prequel to a Netflix series called Undercover. This show, it ran for 3 seasons from 2019 to 2022 and had a total of 28 episodes. A further prequel series of 8 episodes was released in 2023, and a second film, so this is called Ferry, but Ferry 2 came out in late 2024 as well. So quite a bit of background, there's quite a bit of history and knowledge about these characters and these situations, and this film was set up as a prequel to the TV show, which I believe is quite popular. Frank Lammers, who plays our main character, Ferry, so obviously this is a prequel to the show, so had to go through a bit of a transformation to play a younger version of himself, and obviously lose a little bit of weight and have quite a lot of bleach in his hair to make him look a little bit younger as well. Around the world, so this film in French is called The Bad Camp. Interesting, yes, a bit of the film does occur on a camp where Ferry goes to find people, but I don't know if that's a good title. In Chinese, it's called Undercover, The Rise of Ferry, so I like that. They've taken the title of the TV series to give background as well as the character's name. And in Vietnamese, it's just called Ferry Boss. Sounds like, I don't know, if you don't know it's the film, you probably think it's like a boat or a ship, and the boss of that, I don't know, interesting. Other than that, this one did land on Netflix on the 14th of May 2021. Weird, I actually watched this film on the exact same day 4 years later, so in 2025, but 14th of May 2021. It was filmed in the Netherlands. It's meant to be set in Belgium, but it was filmed in Eindhoven and Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and this was quite well nominated at awards. It had 6 nominations at the Film Festival Oostende for lead performance for 3 of the actors, for best film, for best director and best screenplay, and Frank Lammers also won best actor at the Septimus Awards as well. I don't have too much else about this film to talk about, so it's going to be a bit of a quick one, I would say, but let's get to what the critics and audiences are saying about this film. On Rotten Tomatoes, this does not have a consensus from critics. There's only 3 reviews. They are all fresh, however. The audience has it at 78%, so that's in the positives, on more than 50 ratings. On IMDb, it's got 15,000 ratings from the public. It sits at a 7 out of 10, which is fairly solid. And on Letterboxd, it sits at a 3.2 out of 5. Again, pretty good, on 4,500 ratings, but it's been logged by a bit over 6,000 people. There is nothing on Metacritic for this film. Okay, what are my early thoughts for this one? I think this was fun, probably more fun than I thought it would be. I knew nothing about the TV series or the characters, and I was engaged enough and on board with the scenario, and it's a nice, easy, entertaining watch. So bit of a recommendation from me, I guess. Let's talk about the characters. So the film is called Ferry. We need to talk about Ferry. This is obviously, I don't know anything about his actual life post this film, but the film starts off that he obviously had a bit of a traumatic upbringing. He grew up in an abusive family. He's had no real role models in his life, so he becomes like this lapdog to his boss. He will do anything for Brink, his boss, who we'll talk about soon. And in doing anything for him, he sort of has to make these moral choices, even though he works in that underworld, almost drug scene, crime scene, that moral choices aren't necessarily what they're known for. But this film follows that moral situation, I guess, where he falls for a girl, and the idea of doing anything for his boss comes into question. He struggles to maintain a relationship with his sister, who still hasn't moved away from their childhood trailer park home almost, and the fact that she is terminally ill means that he sort of needs to reconnect with her faster. And how will he do that? Danielle is the love interest in this film. She's a sweet and bubbly character who seems to want to do the right thing and everything needed to almost get herself by. She looks like she's struggling a bit on the cash side. She works a stall, like a popcorn, cotton candy stall at a fair. She cleans houses. She does all these odd jobs for people. So she's sweet, and Ferry comes across her and sort of can see the sweetness and niceness and innocence in her and sort of falls for her a bit as well. There are a lot of other people in the film, but I'll just talk about Brink. Brink is Ferry's boss. He's the head of this mafia type sort of situation. He's that sort of mob boss character. His role in this film is that his son Matthias is killed, and he's hell-bent on making Ferry hunt down those responsible and killing them, and that's where Ferry ends up down south and building this relationship with Danielle while killing some people along the way. The director, Cecilia Verheyden, she's from Belgium. She has 18 directing credits, a lot of TV. Interesting, I thought this was pretty well put together, so good job there. Let's talk about some scenes. What stood out, what didn't work. The things that worked, I think the opening flashback of Ferry as a kid with his abusive father and Ferry standing in to protect his mother, sort of showing straight away that he does want to do the right thing, and he pulls a gun on his dad. And this was a great intro for someone who doesn't know the character to sort of set up this character. And the dad makes this comment along the lines of, if you make a threat and you can't follow, and don't make a threat that you can't follow through with. And this almost becomes Ferry's motto, and it's used at the end of the film where he does go to kill a character called Lars as well. There's a scene where Ferry he's found one of these guys he's got to kill called Jason, and he drives him off to this mining site to kill him. And this Jason guy runs off and he goes down this cliff, and Ferry shows this disappointment. He's a bit overweight, shows his disappointment that he's got to follow, and then he falls down this hill and ends up kicking Jason on the way down. That was quite humorous. There's a scene where it's just this quick cut to after this fight where Ferry's been pretty beat up, and he's gone to Danielle's house, and she's offered to fix him up a bit, and just this cut of him sitting in a chair growling at her dog. I thought that was funny too. And I liked when Brink says to Ferry that this is at the end of the film, that you're nothing without me, and Ferry's he's confident that he's going to be fine, and he says we'll see how it works out, and he kills him. I thought that was good too. Things that didn't work. Danielle, there's a scene, the first time we see her, Ferry's hiding in a house where she's cleaning it, and she's bending over and her G-string is hanging out the back of her pants, and Ferry checking it out. I just think that wasn't needed. We don't need him to ogle her. I think Danielle, there's a moment, and I know it ties in probably with the TV show and the end of the film where her brother does drugs and makes drugs, but Danielle has these ecstasy pills to share with Ferry, and there's this tripping sequence. You see it in a lot of films, a lot of teen films too, where they do drugs and the camera goes all shaky, you get neon lights. I don't know, it just went on too long, wasn't needed. And then the reveal that Ferry didn't actually shoot Lars, I thought it was a bit obvious, so I'm not sure it needed to play out the way that they put it together. Other than that, what's this film saying? Themes, some ideas, some thoughts. I think revenge, obviously, but the idea that people can change, and especially if you've got to be there for your family when needed, even if your relationship is soured, that idea of trying to rebuild it. The big part of this to me was that freshness of the countryside and its ability to change city people. Ferry comes from the country, comes from the south, he's living in Amsterdam, comes back, and maybe that's that idea of overcoming poor choices and redeeming yourself in that fresh air of the environment too. And obviously love plays a part, because that ends up making some big decisions for Ferry and his moral compass and doing the right thing for people that you have a connection with as well. What did I take away from this one? I think for something that's a prequel to a TV series that I haven't seen, it was super engaging and easy to follow. So I really enjoyed that. It's almost the complete opposite. We did a Breaking Bad film on here a couple of years ago, which I know was after the show, I think, or was it I can't remember if it was a prequel. Anyway, complete opposite. I thought that one you probably needed to know. I don't know much about Breaking Bad, but I feel like you needed to know a lot more in that than you do in this. So this worked in that way for me. We have a moment where we sometimes jump onto IMDb to check out cast or anything like that. I jumped on the internet to check something out. When Ferry travels down south to this campsite, there's a few shots of this red and white checkered flag that they sort of put a lot of emphasis on. So I was like, cool, this obviously means something. I needed to look it up. What does this mean in the Netherlands? What does it symbolize? And it took me a while to find, because it kept referring to one of the flags in car racing. But by the look of it, I think I got there. I think it's a provincial flag of this area in the southern parts of the Netherlands called North Brabant, and it's this southern area this flag's been used down there since the Middle Ages, and apparently it's the highest seniority of Dutch flags and sits in very important situations with the actual Dutch national flag as well. So interesting little thing there. Questions, ponderings, thoughts, some ideas. I think there is no way in the world that a guy that looks like Ferry ends up with a girl that looks like Danielle. It just was, that part was a bit unbelievable for me. He looked like he was about 40 years older than her, and that sort of took away from it at moments for me. I think that it seems like a big commitment, but is the television series, is it worth watching? Because this was fun, and it makes me sort of want to see a bit more of these characters, what they go about and where they go. So interesting thought, pondering. And finally, like, at the end of the film, they do a couple of connections to the show throughout the credits. And I obviously haven't seen the show, but it was pretty clear that's what they were doing quite early on with the references. And I'm sure this is where I'm sort of tossing and turning. Like, is it nice for those who have watched the show to sort of see those connections, or maybe not because of how on the nose and how obvious it was? So interesting. I'd be keen to know. Other than that, I'm ready to wrap this one up. We do give the film a rating out of 5 stars on this show. For me, like I've said the whole way through, I think the film does a good job of making you care about a pretty bad guy, really, especially if you haven't seen the show and don't have that connection with that Ferry character already. I think it's well worth watching. I'm giving it a 3 out of 5. Solid score from me. We're on socials. We have Instagram, we have Facebook, and we have X, formerly known as Twitter. My question for socials this week, this is in reference to Ferry sitting in Danielle's sort of trailer house, and she offers to make him a toasty. To me, that was like, oh, a toasty, that's great. In Australia, the toasty, I'm not sure around the world what it's called, but it's like a toasted sandwich. And this is a bit of an Australian debate, I guess, but it's often called a jaffle. I was wondering, like, do you call it a toasty or a jaffle? Maybe this is a bit too Australian-centric, but interesting. I think toasty is what I call it. I know a lot of people do call it a jaffle. But anyway, we are back next week with another film from a continent far, far away from us, but this is from 2021. We're looking at the South African mystery thriller called I Am All Girls. This one's directed by Donovan Marsh and stars Erica Wessels, Luby Maboda, Dion Lotz, Muthusi Magano, and Brendan Daniels. So if you're interested in that one, give it a watch before next week when we will be back. Other than that, as always, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next week.